This the War Report, coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric, and the voice of NEW, Vince Berry, hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT, handing out smackdowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by TagMeADate. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here, no safe space. Now listen in, time to hear from some of the greats.
I'm not hearing any music, Steve.
I hear it.
Oh no, I can't hear it.
That's not good.
Now I can hear it.
So weird.
There we go. Now Eric hears it. Wait a minute. Eric, your name's in the intro and you're in the YouTube comments instead of on the show.
But he can't come on.
Your name's
Welcome,
on the show.
everybody, to another edition of the War Report Podcast After Dark with your host, Vince the Prince Berry, the voice of the Northeast, and myself. And ladies and gentlemen, all is good in the world.
Hell yeah.
Because our tribal chief has returned.
That he has. Big SmackDown. Some fallout on Raw as well. That carries over.
I actually want to start in a different direction.
Excellent. What's going on?
Which is very unusual. We don't really talk about this all that much, but I feel like this particular week we have to start with a little NXT. Well, actually, I shouldn't say NXT.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say NXT. I should say the Tuesday Night War.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Where we have a lot to cover with that because AEW took an ass whooping and Tony Khan has been very butthurt about it and been very vocal about it. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. There's a lot to break down there. Before we dive in, of course, before we got started, David Rosca, as usual, right before the show started. Trish Stratus was in New York City this week, which she was. Trish Stratus is coming back. Listen, I also heard an interview where she said she would consider it if it was right. If the opponent was right, if the story was right, she would do another run. That is not confirming that she's coming back.
Right.
It's safe to say it's going to happen.
Oh, for sure.
If Trish is expressing it, they will figure out something to do with her.
You were going to give David a heart attack because you were I thought you were going to say she's not coming back. I'm like, you're just going to disappoint.
No. I would never do that to David. But I do think he's right. I think she is coming back, but it's not 100% confirmed. Now, David has also made another comment, which I'm going to hold off on. We're going to talk about
we'll talk about that.
First.
Yeah.
And trust me when I tell you, David, your last comment we will get into, and I will put it up on the screen. But I do want to talk about Tuesday night. You know, anyone that listens to this show knows I don't spend a lot of time watching NXT. And this particular week was promoted with some big names and then a teaser of a certain taker. So it piqued my interest to the point where for the first time since the 4 horsewomen got called out of NXT that I actually recorded it.
Wow.
And I will say this was one of the greatest NXTs I've ever seen. What I liked about it, now there's a case to say, well, Steve, you loved it because you had Cody Rhodes. You had John Cena. You had LA Knight. You had Judgment Day. You had Undertaker, Badass. You had, who am I missing? I left somebody. Asuka.
Yeah.
So you can make a case and say, well, all right, they had to bring all these heavy hitters out to get people's attention. That is the case.
Right.
But what I liked about it is that the upper echelon roster didn't seem to take away from the NXT talent. Asuka versus what's her face? Who'd she face? Shit. Why am I blanking?
You think I know anybody that wrestles in NXT? I mean, I know one guy.
Roxanne Perez.
Oh, okay.
So now Roxanne, she's been kind of a big deal in NXT. She went through Booker T school.
Right.
She is a former NXT Women's Champion. She wrestled an unbelievable match with Asuka. Asuka, of course, continues to reign undefeated in NXT.
That's crazy.
In an outstanding match to where at the end, Asuka gave flowers. Asuka winning, she should have won because she's Asuka.
Right.
But did not take away anything from Roxanne. In fact, anything, Roxanne looked incredible in that match. Then you had John Cena come out for the first time in history on NXT. The crowd sang his song to the ring.
Yeah.
Where he gets in the ring and goes, well, that's a first. You guys sang my song. Things like that. Great segment there with John Cena. Great backstage segment with John Cena where he's putting over some of the younger talent. Then you see Cena later on because he's in the corner. I'm so bad with the names. I could see his face, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The point being, the match flowed well. None of the elder talent took away from the young talent. If anything, they did a great job putting them over and making people interested in them, which is what you want to see. And then, to top it all off, you have Braun Breaker earlier in the night punching John Cena in the face. Then he's in the main event in an outstanding match with John Cena in his corner while Paul Heyman's in the other corner.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, John Cena's person, I'm so bad with the names. I'm so sorry, guys. John Cena's guy wins the match.
Was it Carmelo Hayes?
Thank you, Carmelo. I don't know. I could see his face, but I couldn't. So Carmelo goes over. Breaker then attacks him after the match. And then The Undertaker comes out on his motorcycle.
Yeah, he had, yeah.
And he comes out and he gets in Braun's face. They're face to face. Now a promo ensues with Taker, which then leads to Undertaker giving Braun Breaker a choke slam that should have put him through the ring mat. The height and elevation he got on this choke slam was like it was Rey Mysterio he was giving the choke slam to.
Oh, yeah.
And what a great moment there. And then grabs the mic and says, you just met the baddest man on the planet, or something to that effect. But, you know, because he's the badass.
Right.
And it was just a great night. And again, you could still say the only reason NXT beat AEW was because of those heavy hitters.
Yeah.
That may be the case.
Oh, it's absolutely the case.
But at the end of the day, it worked. And they kicked your ass in the ratings. Now, that's not to say that Dynamite was a bad show. It was a great show.
Oh, Dynamite was fantastic.
And there was some big shit that took place.
But you also, like, see, I as a regular watcher and somebody who knows what the ratings are for all these shows, I knew AEW wasn't going to outstrike NXT and the viewers, especially once they added all that other stuff. But also just being on an off day and all that, like it was, you know, it was probably 200,000. So it was like 600 and something thousand versus like their usual 850,000. So it was like a 200,000 viewer bath. But you know, that's probably factoring in the people who are regular watchers of both Dynamite and NXT who regularly watch NXT every Tuesday. Like they're not going to break their Tuesday tradition to watch the Wednesday show. They'll probably just DVR it and watch it later. You know, or you know, there's some average of people who are probably bigger WWE fans than AEW fans who would tune into NXT over AEW now that they're head to head. I'm not, you know, it is what it is. I wasn't really I wasn't expecting. I was actually expecting NXT to hit over 1 million viewers, which they
I was
didn't.
too.
And then 600 something thousand was right about where I thought AEW was going to land.
But
I think,
here's kind of where my
yeah,
head is at. It was expected, especially knowing who was going to be there. It
right,
delivered. The show was a great show. Both shows were great. Wrestling fans didn't lose. They got a great Tuesday night of wrestling.
right.
Tony Khan, who I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Tony. I'm a big fan of AEW. I'm a big fan of what he's done for professional wrestling. But you are the president, CEO of your company, and you're running your mouth on Twitter and social media like a little bitch. Like trying to make excuses, taking shots, this, that, and the other because you lost. Like, dude, you lost. It is what it is. You lost to a company that should beat you. They've been around a lot longer and they have a larger reach. So,
I think that's also sort of maybe his argument is like, people jumped on. Here's the thing: for the last 4 years, there have been a lot of bad faith arguments made against AEW. There was a lot of goalpost moving, and there was a lot of whatever. There's a certain subset of people, and I'm just going to say it. There's a certain subset of people that only cheer for Cody Rhodes now because he's now a WWE guy and he's our guy, quote unquote, instead of their guy, quote unquote. And when he was with AEW, he sucked. Just like when Jade was with AEW, all you heard about from WWE fans is how bad she sucked. And now they both signed with WWE, and suddenly they're world beaters that should be main eventing WrestleMania. But that's a side point. Tony started off like you and me as a wrestling fan. He started off on the fucking, what are those DVD, the wrestling DVD forums. That was an interesting place on the internet. He started off as an internet commentator like everybody else with their opinions on the thing. Once he became a public figure, the criticism increases, but also I think that part of your brain probably doesn't go away where it's like, well, hey, I've been spending the last 30 years of my life commentating on wrestling message boards, my opinion on pro wrestling, and going back and forth with people. So why can't I continue? And yes, he shouldn't probably be doing it as the CEO. To play devil's advocate, I kind of like it when people who are obvious trolls on the internet and all they do is all day tweet at wrestlers and tweet at Tony Khan, AEW sucks, you suck, your company's going out of business, I hope you die, all this shit. I like that he's going back at him because nobody ever. Trolls exist because people go, oh, ignore them, they'll go away. And they never really go away. They just kind of exist in their own little.
Especially wrestling ones.
Right. Especially. So what I'm saying is like is he going about it the wrong way? Yeah, probably. But at the same time, sometimes he says some funny shit, and he just says some funny shit to an obvious like troll.
To me, it just doesn't make him look good. Like, dude, take the L. You're still doing a great job. People still love your product. People are still going to watch your product. You're allowed to take a loss. WCW got their ass whooped for a very long time, and then they turned the corner. And then they beat the shit out of WWE. Yeah. And then ultimately WWE won in the end. It's just, it is what it is. But you still put on a great product. You still got great ratings.
Yeah.
And the fans won. You got great wrestling on both sides.
Can I tell you, man, people have been really down on AEW since that CM Punk thing that happened like a fucking year ago. That apparently, out of all of the things that have happened in wrestling, with Shawn Michaels having affairs with people and fucking Sonny and Bret Hart fucking Sonny and everybody, all these nasty things that happen in the plane ride from hell and this, that, and the other thing. The biggest story that people can't let go of amongst legitimate assaults, murders, sexual assaults, plane crashes, tax fraud, all this other crap is CM Punk complaining on a microphone for 45 minutes. Oh my God, these people on the internet can't let it go. But AEW since then has been like, especially in the last probably 3 to 6 months, has been on a fucking roll. These pay-per-views, the Wembley Stadium one, with this really lame internet argument about attendance is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It was a big show. It was a bigger show than WWE put on, and people are salty about it. It's the same stadium, and they drew more. It's just a fact. Sorry, guys. But since those pay-per-views, they've been hitting these pay-per-views out of the park. Wrestle Dream, the one that was last week or the week before, fucking fantastic. So I understand what you're saying. He shouldn't be taking the criticism to heart like that, because they're doing good things on TV, and I think that eventually,
bro, he just got Adam.
That's going to translate. Yeah, but and I think that's going to translate. I think it's going to click again. It's starting to click again, and I think it's really Edge. Regardless of what he can or can't do in the ring or how long he plans to be there, there is something there. It's not just you're talking about having Cena and LA Knight or whoever else was there, and the Undertaker, blah blah blah, Paul Heyman on NXT, and they're elevating the young guys. Well, look at this. You've got Luchasaurus, who's not necessarily young, but he's still young enough in wrestling terms. You've got Darby Allin, who's still a young guy. You've got Nick Wayne, who just turned 18, and they're all involved in this Christian. Ricky Starks is involved in it too, and Big Bill. The Christian and Adam Copeland storyline is and Sting is involved. So you've got all these older guys elevating your Rickies and your Darbys and your Nick Waynes, and they're all getting the rub from working this and the experience. Could you imagine now you're an 18-year-old kid, you get to work with Edge and fucking Christian and just absorb all that information?
I mean, Edge, Christian, Sting. I mean, the list goes, Jeff and Matt Hardy. I mean, the list goes on and on. But
it's just good to see. Like he really, like you said, Tony needs to realize, he's putting on a good show.
Just shut the fuck up and keep doing what you're doing. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I want to say one other thing about NXT, and then I want to start shifting gears because we do have a lot to cover, and we're already 17 minutes in.
Oh, wow.
They finally did a vignette on NXT, which officially shows you who it is and a name change.
Right.
Here's what I like, and here's what I do not like. And this is... I say it all the time. I said it about Braun Breaker. There's a lot of... The vignette was great. I like the angle of you guys all worship my dad. I didn't even know who my dad was. I don't want to be my dad. I don't care about my dad. I'm my own person. And I'm going by the name of something King or whatever.
It's Lexi King, which I believe was his sister, and then his mother's last name. His sister's first name or his mother's last name or something like that.
Oh, all right, maybe. His hair is like
King.
Lexus King. His hair is like his father. He looks like his father to a T.
Wasn't he wearing the tiger shirt and all that shit? He was.
Yeah, and you're not going to be.
I don't like it.
Brian Pillman Jr.
I like that he's. The name change, if they want to mark, this is the typical WWE thing. You take somebody in who has goodwill with a name and then you change it. Then you have to build it all over again.
He's a Pillman. Yeah. Just like Breaker's a Steiner.
And there's you can, and just like fucking D.H. Smith is Danny, Davey Boy Jr. You know what I mean? Like you just look at him and you go, that's a Steiner. That's a Pillman.
He looks and sounds like his brother, his father and uncle.
He's like a twin.
He's got like the best of both.
He's like they mushed the two Steiner brothers together to make Braun Breaker. Yeah.
So I just hope this is one time that I want them to do a name change when he comes to the main roster. Be a fucking Steiner, dude. You're barking like your dad.
Right.
Be a fucking Steiner.
And be a Pillman too. They can they can run this storyline if they want, but I feel like eventually he's got to.
I'm good with him hating his dad and not knowing his dad and fuck him on my own person, but you're still a fucking Pillman. Be Pillman.
He got into the wrestling business because his dad was a wrestler and was only got bookings at the beginning because he had a name. So like, I understand it's a heel scripted promo, but also sometimes when you compare the stuff that happens on the screen, even though it's fictional, you look at it in the context of real life, and it just, if you're and I think this is what they're relying on. WWE is relying on their fans not really watching the indies, not really watching AEW, only consuming WWE as wrestling, not even watching like Dark Side of the Ring. They just want their core audience, who they're directing this new Lexus King character to is people who watch Raw, SmackDown, NXT, The Bump on Peacock, and Level Up. You know what I mean? They don't want, if you're watching the other stuff, they almost don't want you. They just want, they don't care about indie fans. They don't really care about wrestling fans who like New Japan or AEW or anything. They cater to WWE fans. So when they, they're hoping that you didn't see the interview on Dark Side of the Ring where Brian Pillman Jr., with his real name there, Brian Pillman Jr., shows the picture of his dad holding him in his arms and crying over it and saying, I got into wrestling because of my dad. They're hoping that their fan base has never seen that and they can just start fresh with this lie, Well,
we'll see what happens when he gets on the main roster, I guess, because sometimes things change when you come up to the main roster.
For sure.
But
the Funkasaurus.
All right, so that's a good way to move on.
The Funkasaurus is always a good way to move on.
Always a good way to move on. I do want to go in order this week because now we have to go to SmackDown. And I said it last week. I'm going to say it again because to me, I just think it's hilarious. We got the season premiere of SmackDown like it ever fucking stopped. I just, and Raw was the season premiere. I get a kick out of it. It's like, all right, guys, like when did we get the off season? Like there were no reruns all summer. Like this, whatever. But it is their way of kind of saying we are going to do some things. We are going to start a little fresh in some aspects. SmackDown was fantastic. Start to finish. Mm-hmm. It opens with John Cena. Mm-hmm. Goes to cut a promo. Gets interrupted by our tribal chief. Great promo ensues. Jimmy comes out of nowhere. Attacks Cena. Roman clearly not happy about it. The whole dynamic, the whole setup, the whole intro was great. The stare down with Roman and Cody and Cena, that the whole thing was great. You had Triple H return. Cut a promo. Dominic interrupts. Adam Pearce is in the ring, gives flowers to Adam Pearce, which I thought was well warranted because he has done a great job being an authority figure for both shows. Ultimately gets promoted to general manager of Raw because it's not a one-man job. Mm-hmm. So we're going to need a general manager on SmackDown before he can get it out. Dominic comes out. And Triple H being Triple H, like one of the things you just got to love about Triple H.
What, do you go in there and bury Dominic like he usually does with those guys?
No, but it's just some of the funny shit. Like, for example, Dominic goes to talk. The crowd does their thing, doesn't let him talk. The boos are overwhelming. Triple H grabs the mic and says, God, just when you thought they really pumped all this noise in, it really is this loud in here. Like he makes comments like that. And like, you got to love that. And then he'll go to Dominic. I think maybe your mic's not working. Take mine. Right. Because the boot, like he just fucks with him.
Right.
And then we get introduced to the new general manager of Friday Night SmackDown, Nick Aldis, who unfortunately came out to very little crowd reaction. I guess. All right.
There is a WWE bubble. There are people who consider that the only wrestling in the world is WWE, and they don't know who Nick Aldis is. They legitimately don't know.
Right. Well, because if you didn't watch NWA and you didn't watch TNA and you didn't watch, I don't even know where, Impact, then, you weren't going to really know him other than, oh, this is the guy that's married to Mickie James.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. You are WWE. You do the best video production packages out there, period, in any company, anywhere in the world. You are the best. Mm-hmm. Why? So here's two questions. Number one, why do you bring him in finally after all these years to be a general manager? and not an in-ring superstar. Number
Well,
one.
I think we,
Number one. Hold on. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask both, and then you take it over. So there's one. Number two. Why wouldn't you do a video package? Let your audience know who Nick Aldis / Magnus is.
Yeah.
Show him with his shirt off and his physique, because he's built like a fucking god.
Yeah.
And show some of his work. But for some reason, you bring him out. Your bubble doesn't know who he is, so you could hear a pin drop. To his credit, he gets over almost immediately by going to Dominic and saying, "Hey, I'm Nick. Nice to meet you. I'm a very big fan of your father." Instant face reaction from the crowd. So, okay, you got them interested and this and that. I think Nick Aldis is going to be a great addition. I do think this is also going to lead into a wrestling role. I don't think he's going to be GM forever. He's not going to be the GM to be pushed around. Somebody's going to piss him off. It's going to lead to a match, and then you're going to have him in the ring. But back to my two questions, Vince. Go ahead.
I'll answer the second one first. Why didn't they put together a video package? I have no clue. I think the best thing they could have done is exactly what you said. You know, you introduce the guy, and as he's walking to the ring, you show a little video package, him holding the NWA championship, him holding the TNA championship, whatever, wrestling Kurt Angle, whatever he can, they've worked with the NWA and Impact and whoever else to get footage before. Happens all the time. So they could very well put together a very nice package for him. I'm not sure why they didn't do it. Second one, why did you? So your speculation is that this is a temporary role for him to fill and eventually will be a wrestling part of the roster, which is very possible. The other possibility,
I mean, unless there's something I missed and he can't wrestle. But
there we go. So
I didn't think he retired.
No, but here are the two things that I can think of. One is it's a situation like with his name used to be Desmond Wolfe. Now he was in TNA and now he's the commentator on Collision. He's British. Why can't I think of his name?
I know who you're talking about, though. I can see his face.
Right. So the reason he was Nigel McGuinness. The reason Nigel and Daniel Bryan Danielson were both signed at the same time to NXT. And their physicals came back and McGuinness had like hepatitis C or something like that prevented him from wrestling. And we've heard of this before. Other people who were close to getting signed and they get there was one girl, I forget her name, but she had they like found a heart condition and she had to like go get like surgery and then like they found like a heart defect in her that they're like, we can't let you wrestle. But then she was able to like correct it and she wrestles now. So it could be a situation where maybe they signed him. Hey, we're really happy to have you on board, whatever, or we want to have you on board, and they do the physical. And they found something in the physical that they didn't like and they wouldn't clear because the doctors and the lawyers are the ones that cleared. It's not Triple H. So if the doctors and the lawyers don't want to take the liability of having this guy in the ring, that's it. The other thing is maybe they don't find his ring work particularly exciting, but they need, they want him as a veteran person to be, who's capable of cutting a promo and looks professional in a suit and has like a British accent that sounds like he knows what he's talking about, to be their general manager. And maybe he just like did quietly retire because he just doesn't want to wrestle anymore. But I've heard none of that. I've heard none of he's retired. I've heard none of he's injured. Really hadn't heard anything until people like, oh, Nick Aldis is rumored to be coming back tonight on SmackDown as a general manager. I hadn't heard much.
They didn't even give him music.
Oh, weird. You'd think
like
they'd
he
give him
just
one of
came
those
out.
old-timey British songs, yeah.
Like, so it was just very weird the way they introduced him. I think they could have done a better job explaining who Nick Aldis is. Obviously, guys like you and I, we know Nick. We know who he is. We're familiar with him. Guys like Eric, the whole crew. I mean, we're on this podcast because we know what we're talking about. And we know most people, but you're right. There's a lot of people that have no idea who he is. And it was evident when you could hear crickets. And I kind of felt bad for him in a way.
But at least he turned it around, which is the other
thing. He
did
turn it. Well, listen, it shows you what kind of pro he is, right? Because he was able to right away get the crowd behind him. Yeah. I think he's going to do a good job. I think you're right. I think He looks great in a suit. He's got the accent. He's in very good shape. I think he's going to do a great job, and it looks like he's going to be a face type of general manager for now. So we'll see where it goes. But so all this is happening on SmackDown. It was just a great show. You had Shinsuke.
No, the Shinsuke thing was on Raw.
What else am I missing from SmackDown? There was something else.
Kevin come out and do anything? Oh no, did they have the stare down between the tag team champions?
Well, Cody, yeah. So Cody and Jay defended against Owens and Zayn, and obviously Cody and Jay retained, and then they wound up announcing that Kevin Owens. Oh, that's what it was. Kevin Owens officially showed up on
right.
Which
is a SmackDown guy now, yeah.
Right. So, and I'm not disappointed, I guess, with that, but I just am surprised that they split him and Sami Zayn up.
Yeah.
You know.
And again, this is all part of Cody Rhodes behind the scenes, you know, on camera behind the scenes machinations of I want to get traded to Raw, so I made a deal, and now Kevin's on SmackDown. But he's still, I don't know how he's a babyface. He traded Kevin Owens for himself without the consent of anybody involved and like went behind everybody's back so he could be on Raw. That's kind of shitty.
Well, I don't think they're portraying it as he made that decision. I think he went to management and they agreed and they did it. But
like, it's just it seems weird that, like, I don't know, man. I feel like it just feels too much like, is Cody's really just straight-laced, no jokes, no bullshit, just playing a very bland white meat babyface from the 80s, and there's no tinge of like, I politic behind the scenes to get number 30 at WrestleMania. All this other stuff. I don't get it, man. I feel like he there's this idea of a privileged nepo baby, son of one of the best wrestlers, Hall of Fame wrestlers in the world, using his influence and as an advantage, kind of like how he did in real life to get all these big money contracts to get these opportunities, but they're playing it like he's earning them when it's really like Cody's kind of going. So unless there's a reveal after WrestleMania and he turns heel, some of this stuff doesn't jive.
I don't think there is going to be any plan anytime soon.
I know. Listen, again, there's a WWE bubble that I'm no longer in, and I don't get the Cody Rhodes thing. I
gotta be honest with you. I'm enjoying every bit of Cody Rhodes. I am. I'm enjoying him. Just even seeing the kids, like those kids when they get his belt, in the entrance, like Bret Hart used to do with the glasses. Right. These kids start crying, like it means so much to them. He is the Hulk Hogan of this era right now. Oh, he's the John Cena of this era. I mean, it just, I don't know. I think this is the best.
Hey, and I hope he's making money and all this stuff, and he's having a good run, and everybody loves it. But like, no, I know, but that's what I'm saying. I hope he gets in and gets out. But like, I don't know, man. I watched too much AEW to know that there's a Cody Rhodes saturation limit that the audience eventually reaches. So I'm just. I'm waiting. I know it takes a couple of years. But
I was going to say, it's not happening now or anytime soon, and I'm enjoying it. I think that was pretty much most of SmackDown.
Yeah.
So that brings us
Raw now. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that brings us to Monday Night Raw. Raw, I think, was also a great show. Now I want to talk. We're going to jump around Raw, but now I want to talk about David Roscoe.
Yeah.
And his comment. Oh, maybe we should Ladies
and gentlemen, I demand all your gratitude for the longest reigning Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion in history. David
Gunther.
I mean, listen, we say every time we talk about Gunther in any capacity, in any match, it is nothing but complete high praise. Everything, when you talk about a total package, he is a total package, a complete total package, from his ring work to his promo work to his look. He has made the Intercontinental title the most important title on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, but did he body slam Yokozuna?
No, but he body slammed
aircraft
Bronson
carrier?
Reed.
That's pretty damn close.
I mean, listen, and so David Roscoe over at YouTube, Gunther is still IC champion. I still don't understand. Bronson Reed is not the new Intercontinental champion. Listen, I will say right off the bat, nobody deserves to win more than Gunther. It makes Gunther just look like a complete monster. And it was a great, hard-hitting match. Kudos to Bronson Reed. He did a phenomenal job in that match. And Gunther body slammed him and power bombed. Well, no, he power bombed him.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's harder than body slamming him.
A superplex off the top, a splash by dude, it was just such a great match, start to finish.
Fantastic.
I would have been okay, quite honestly, if Brunson was the one to defeat Gunther.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I'm also very happy with Gunther.
Oh, of course, the streak lives on. Hello, Valvez, BTW. How are you? Going back to just put David's thing up since we're talking about it right now. Yeah, I think we all kind of knew he wasn't going to win, but I think we even said last week Reed is probably not going to win this one, but they're going to go out there and they're going to put it all out there and
they're going to beat the shit out of each other, and they did.
So
Bronson's chest was bleeding.
Yeah, those when the chops start bleeding, and that happens sometimes, but like that's just how it was a super hard chop. You have to it's either super hard or repeated ones in the same area, and then
Gunther's are fucking hard hitting.
He's got big. Everything. He's a giant person, so he's got big old hands. I'm now that we're past the honky tonk man thing, and he's already broken history and whatever. Screw it. He can keep this title as long as he wants. It's whatever. The idea is that everybody knows they're facing the final boss right now, and they're going in with the attitude, I'm probably going to lose, but I'm going to give it my all. And that's fine. And then you can have that happen a lot, whereas people are like, you know what? I'm probably going to lose, but I'm going to give it a shot. And then eventually you have one of those guys who's like, I don't think I'm going to win this one, get a roll up or something and actually beat him down the line. Why mess with it at this point? This is one of the consistency is an important thing with championship lineages, and WWE had a problem with that even as recently as 2-3 years ago, where they bounced around the titles way too much. So Gunther keeping the title, while it might not be the most creatively whatever, Vince Russo would have already had him lose and win the title back 6 times already. You know what I mean? It was just to keep things fresh or whatever. But
there's still only one person that I'm convinced at this moment in time that's going to actually beat him for the title.
Thank you.
See, that's the story. And I know they were teasing that as the story right before breaking, perhaps Chad Gable could be the one to make sure that he doesn't break Honky Tonk Man streak, which I actually thought would have been very cool and appropriate. And you could have brought out all the stops. You could have had the Honky Tonk Man accompany Chad Gable to the ring. Imperium starts messing with the Honky Tonk Man, and the Honky Tonk Man hits somebody with a guitar, which leads to Gunther being distracted, which leads to Chad Gable rolling him up and winning the Intercontinental Championship. You could have gone that way, and it would have been probably great. But Chad Gable trying so hard and got so far, and in the end, he just lost. That
Well,
tells
he
a story
didn't.
too.
But you know what though? But he didn't
He
just
put,
lose.
he didn't just, but that's the thing. He put up the fight, and I think it leaves the door open,
right,
for him to come back and go, "You had my number back then,
right.
and now I've learned." And then they could even do that. Like whatever happened in the previous matches, if they have another match, he can show that he learned from his mistakes and how to counter different moves that, specific Gunther's signature moves that he knows how to counter now. That would show like growth and evolution of Chad Gable.
It just, that match was so good. I just enjoyed it. And it's not even just Gunther. Like Bronson was impressive. He's
Yeah.
a big guy. He can get blown up. He didn't. The pace of the match was perfect. And it was able to make Gunther look strong in the end. I loved it. I just thought it was great. Raw. All right. So let's just go right to the main event. So
All right.
you had Jay and Cody defending against Judgment Day a week after Fastlane.
Yep.
And Judgment Day has regained their tag team titles. You had something great and unexpected with Cody and Jay. The odd couple. I mean, it was working. It was, that team sold me during the press conference after Fastlane.
Mm-hmm.
With the Yeet, they were drunk, and just the banter back. I enjoyed them together. Mm-hmm. They had them for a week, and then it got me thinking: did they solely give them the titles for 1 week so that Cody could show up on the other show, so that they could have the stare down and remind everyone that the story hasn't ended?
That's exactly what I'm thinking they did.
You know what I mean? And not to mention, you had them lose the tag titles because Jimmy super kicked Jay in the face and cost them the titles. So I'm just kind of, I don't know. I was kind of bummed with that finish. Not the finish. I thought the match was great. The finish was great. The conclusion, I think, sucks. I would have liked to see them have the titles longer, so that my mind wouldn't be automatically thinking that they solely did this so they could have that stare down, which to me, you're devaluing your undisputed tag team champions by doing that, in my opinion. I mean, the brand, the draft means shit anyway. You didn't have to do that. Just have them show up. I'm Cody Rhodes. I can go wherever the fuck I want. You know what I mean?
Because then I think, I also think that there was a little bit of like, now if Cody shows up on SmackDown, there's an expectation, especially with a tag team belt, there's expectations that he shows up every week on SmackDown, and obviously that's not.
You know what else that tells me?
Else
that tells me? That they are now very worried that The Rock is not going to be at Mania 40, and that they have to continue to get Cody ready for that position.
Yeah, I mean, they are. They're definitely keeping it warm. We'll see. The talk about The Rock always fluctuates and comes and goes, and like, I know with the strike, and I think the writer strike finished up, but I think the actor strike is still on. So I think him and Cena are still in the clear for the moment. But again, that could literally be any day they could wrap up that stretch. But that doesn't mean, because the Rock is. I understand where John Cena's place in Hollywood right now. He is a big name, but he's not as big as he's not up there with The Rock just quite yet. So when he says that he has contractual obligations and insurance and all this, and a lot of people who have jobs on film crews that can't have him get injured wrestling, and he's not legally allowed to by the contracts that he signs to film these movies. Understood. The Rock, with all the money and influence and lawyers and everything else that he has in his life, I think despite any kind of, contractual strike or agreement or whatever, I think The Rock has enough sway to get out of whatever contract he needs to wrestle whenever he wants. I think the ball is firmly in The Rock's court. And if he wants WrestleMania 40, he's got it. And it's just a matter of, does he want it? Is the money right? Is he healthy enough? Does he have any films coming up? Whatever. I'm sure there's a million things they have to clear for.
I imagine I imagine at this point he's got to have a decision by Royal Rumble.
That's what I'm thinking. I would think they would want
I
a
mean,
decision
that's your
by,
official road to WrestleMania,
right.
so
But
they got to know.
I think they'd want to know by like Survivor Series just so they can have direction, because you don't want to find out the day of the Royal Rumble or the week of the Royal Rumble and then have to shift. You should get notice in November or December, and then at least by January you can have a plan. I mean, they probably have backups upon backups already written, but like, it's nicer to have more notice.
Yeah, for sure. Tara, no worries. You don't ever have to apologize. It's no big deal. And by the way, what alert? It's 9 every Tuesday.
Yeah, but the thing comes up on the phone. I know what you mean.
Oh, does it?
Like
I don't even get alerted.
Oh, when I
get alerted from StreamYard, but
I get a Facebook alert from the thing. It pops up. It's like TagMeADate has gone live or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Oh. So there's usually a pop up. So, but anyway. Yes, Sarah, thanks for joining us.
Shinsuke Ricochet.
Let
me tell you something. I've always been impressed with Ricochet. I think he is one of a kind of a wrestler. You're never going to see anybody that can do what Ricochet does.
It's amazing.
And effortless, right?
Yeah.
But he did some shit in this match that it was just nonstop Ricochet show. He didn't win, which is okay. He looked amazing. He did a shooting star from the rafters in the crowd. Like, I mean, there were 2 shooting stars, a corkscrew. I mean,
right.
He flew all over. He was in the air more than he was on the ground in that match. He was incredible.
Yeah, dude.
And Shinsuke got over, and I'm good with that because Shinsuke is right now, Shinsuke Nakamura. This is it. This is his moment. This is the best we've seen of Shinsuke, and it's only going to get better from here. Him as being this evil Shinsuke, the facial expressions, the oh my god,
yeah.
Like there is nothing I'm not loving about Shinsuke, and he has to keep winning. So Ricochet has to be that guy. I'm okay with that, but he's got to win that belt.
He has to win.
I mean, as long as McIntyre doesn't win, which I don't see happening, but
I don't think so. And I know that they've got that. That's the next setup for Seth Rollins. I think McIntyre doesn't win because it doesn't fit it. McIntyre's in the middle of this.
But don't we always get a huge title change at Crown Jewel?
Yeah, but you know what? No. You see,
it doesn't have to be the world title, but
it's Logan Paul's winning the U.S. title. That's the big one. That's the big.
Yeah.
He's beating Rey Mysterio. As what universe do we live in? What do we have to do to change the timeline where Logan Paul is going to beat Rey Mysterio for a WWE championship?
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Devil's advocate, right? He has been impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, every time that kid shows up,
it has nothing to do with his wrestling skills. It has to do with everything else about him and his family and the people they associate with and the way they conduct business. You know what I mean? Like wrestling-wise, he's great.
I get it, but But in this particular case, we have to look at Logan Paul, the WWE superstar. And for somebody that got an amazing opportunity that most people don't get unless you go through the trials and tribulations of trying to get to WWE. So you got lucky, kid, and you got an in, and he's putting in the work and you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
He's great on the mic. The people hate him. He's eating it up. His in-ring work has been impressive every single match, even his first one. So I can't be mad if he goes over on Rey Mysterio. I can't.
Yeah, and I think,
you know what? Maybe the U.S. title, all right, it's going to get more people interested because of his billions of followers and all that shit. If you're going to give him a belt, okay, give him the U.S. title.
Yeah.
It's not the IC title. It's not a world title. It's not a tag title.
Right.
So I'm good with that. To me, the U.S. title, I mean.
Now, here's what
you know what I mean?
Online, Right. It's at a certain level where it's fine. Now, here's the online speculation. I want you to the continuation of the sentence that I've seen several times online is Logan Paul beats Rey Mysterio for the U.S. title in Saudi Arabia, comma, then loses the U.S. title to LA Knight at WrestleMania.
What?
I think that's a waste of LA Knight.
No, who's saying? Wait.
I'm telling you, I go on wrestling Facebook groups, I go on wrestling subreddits, I go on wrestling social media. I've seen this sentence dozens of times this week. Dozens. The justification when as soon as Rey Mysterio got called out by Logan Paul after that boxing match, in the comments section, one of the top comments on Reddit, the biggest wrestling subreddit, was he's probably going to win and then drop the title to LA Knight at WrestleMania.
Shut
and
up,
I've
bitch.
seen it. Hey, listen, Steve, I'm on your side. I'm on fictional rock soundboard guy's side. I don't disagree. I'm with you. But I can't tell you I've seen it so many times this week, dude. Tara with the yep.
I don't care what any of these fucks are saying on any of these fucking sites. I could give a fuck less.
Yeah.
I could care less. What is going to happen? You are not pushing LA Knight the way you are right. You're not putting him with John Cena, who's putting LA Knight over to give him the US title. That man is getting a world title. He's either getting Rollins' title or he's getting Roman's title.
Right.
LA Knight is your guy. He's not going for the IC title and he's not going for the US title. You dumb fucking marks.
Question for you, talking about that World Heavyweight Championship that Seth Rollins has, that we want LA Knight potentially to win. Well, no, we want Shinsuke Nakamura to win. So my question to you is Nakamura LA Knight a WrestleMania level match, or does it have to be Seth Rollins LA Knight to really solidify LA Knight as a main eventer by beating Mr. Monday Night? What are your thoughts on where LA Knight lands for WrestleMania?
Okay, here's my prediction. LA Knight is winning the Royal Rumble.
Ooh.
LA Knight is facing Seth Rollins if he's still going into Mania as the champion, or whoever that champion is, that's who he's going after to become champion.
Okay.
Because Roman is going with Cody or Rock. So I see LA Knight winning the Rumble, and I see him going. Cody doesn't need the Rumble.
Right.
So LA Knight's your guy. I mean, this is who you're putting John Cena with to get over. This is your guy.
But then who does he face? Is it Rollins?
If Rollins still has the title at Mania, I don't know that we get all the way to Mania and Rollins is still the champion.
Is there a potential Rollins loses it and wins it back?
I could see Shinsuke officially getting over on Rollins and going into Mania as your champion. And I could see Shinsuke versus LA Knight main event of night one.
He could also, they could also have the women main event night one.
True. Listen, you can have LA Knight Shinsuke open Mania.
That's true.
If you're not last,
titles.
Good to be first.
The thing about, then I guess the other thing was, do you think there's a world where Seth loses it to Shinsuke and then wins it back before Mania so they can have a bigger match for Mania?
I don't know that the crowd, if Rollins is going to stay face, you're not going to want LA Knight versus Rollins.
But maybe losing to Shinsuke.
You don't want face versus face at Mania.
No. But maybe losing to Shinsuke is what sends Seth over the edge back to being, the old Seth, and then he does something devious to win the title from Shinsuke, and then you've got maybe face LA Knight.
If Shinsuke wins, I would like to see him have a run till Mania. I think the Shinsuke that we have right now versus LA Knight
would be
I think that's a main event quality match at a WrestleMania.
Gotcha.
I do.
Now,
and what makes it perfect is that it doesn't have to be the main event. It could open your show and be just as great.
true.
So I'm good with that.
One other thing I wanted to mention, the camera, the intentional camera shots, since they had the face off, I think they've got more than one escape plan here with this Rock Roman potential WrestleMania match thing.
Where
The
he had Roman
sunglasses.
in the reflection, that was
Yeah.
such a great camera shot.
Yeah. LA Knight having having Roman in his sights, literally. So
I mean,
you know,
it could be LA Knight versus Roman, but
man, you know what? I think the crowd would be into that. Would there be a section of the crowd that would be mad that Cody wasn't in the main event if LA Knight was?
oh my God, you'd have a lot of people butthurt if Cody Rhodes wasn't able to finish the story. So that's where I don't know where this goes. But again, that's not a bad thing either, because when you don't know, it's more interesting. So, you know, you got Roman back. He's trying to fix the bloodline. And then we're at the top of the hour, but I want to leave you all with this.
Yeah.
It was officially verbalized, if anyone did not catch it on SmackDown.
What's that?
That Rhea Ripley's officially the leader of Judgment Day.
Oh, so it's official now. See,
Well, I think who the fuck was it that said it? It was yesterday, or a couple days ago.
But they used to. So
somebody said something like, I forget who it was, but somebody said something like, go talk to the leader of your group, Rhea, or something like that. But it was like verbally said. But I don't remember who said it.
But you know, it's funny because they used to specifically make sure that they said there is no leader, we're all equals, whatever. So now they.
But Rhea's clearly the leader,
right?
I mean,
right. No, and I don't disagree with it. It's just now the way that they talk about the group changes. So now you see the dynamic. You know, as the dynamic changed, the way the commentary, and the other people will acknowledge her as the leader. See, it's good that you pulled that out because Tara didn't see that. So you're informing people here. This is good.
I like to be the voice. You know what I mean?
Right? No,
I do try and pay attention to the small details, but sometimes you miss them too.
Well, especially with something like that, we're acknowledging her as the leader of the group, which again is kind of, while China was always one of the biggest presences in DX, the leader was always Triple H or Shawn Michaels. She is now, for all intents and purposes, the leader of, I don't want to say the modern day DX, but you know, a modern day stable, man. This is I don't want to say it's a first, but it could be.
Oh no, it's a first.
An active women's, you know, I can see like there are female managers that have been like the leaders of.
It's not like she's the leader of a female group. She's the leader of a male dominated group.
Yeah, and she's not just a manager; she's an active wrestler,
and she's a women's champion.
She's the yeah. So it's, hey man, good for her. I mean, she's another one that, you know, the other speculations online is I only saw this a couple times, not nearly as much as I saw the Logan Paul losing to LA Knight thing. I hope Rhea Ripley against Becky Lynch for the women's championship is the main event of night 1.
Say that again.
This is a comment I've seen a couple times. I hope that Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch is the main event of WrestleMania night 1. Could that be? I mean, would they? Because it is WrestleMania 40. Maybe you want to give one main event to the women and one main event to the men. Would that be the WrestleMania main event for night 1? Would that be a big? It's a big enough. Both names are big enough. Right?
I mean, yeah. Listen, if you're going to ask me if that's main event Mania quality, those two, yeah, of course.
Right. Do you think it's something people are clamoring to see?
I mean, saying it out loud, I'm not getting all like jumping out of my seat excited about it.
That's the thing. I read it and I'm like,
if I would rather, honestly, depending on what she looks like in a WWE ring, I'd get more excited to hear that it was going to be like Charlotte versus Jade Cargill.
Yeah, I mean,
like that gets me excited. I don't know that it gets me so excited to see Becky Rhea. Like the story would have to be good, the build would have to be good, which I'm sure they could do to get me excited. But right now, like
there's no way to connect them right now.
Right. Like they already just teased a little animosity between Charlotte and Jade. So even if they don't
Right.
touch from now until the road to WrestleMania, I'm good with that.
Mm.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Yes, it's big enough of a match, but I don't know if I care so much right now.
Right.
But they haven't really given us a reason. I mean, yes, they had a little face-to-face confrontation, stare down backstage, but
nothing that was like really planting a seed.
yeah, I don't.
Which is like I said, I didn't see it a bunch, but I saw it 2 or 3, a couple times as I was reading comments of like stuff that's coming up for WrestleMania.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at it, and I do think the women should get one of the main events. Quite honestly, I don't know that they're going to, but who knows? I don't know, man. That's a good question, though. But as of right now, I'm not like, oh yeah, that like if you said to me, Brock Gunther, that gets me excited. I want to see that match.
Yeah,
Becky,
that would be an exciting one.
Rhea, I don't know yet.
Nah, they would really have to hype it up. I think Rhea Ripley would have to like at this point like shot put one of Becky's children like over a fence or something to like really get us enough heat for this match.
I mean, I love both of them.
Yeah, but I just there's nothing
there
that makes me want to go, oh yeah, that's the matchup I want to see. Plus, I don't even know like size wise, I don't know if they match up that well. I think it could be clunky.
But that could also they're both good enough where I think they could actually make it work, and it's the whole David Goliath kind of thing. I don't mind that so much. I think those two could actually pull it off, but I don't know. We'll have to see which direction they go. And I mean, listen,
it gets
one thing we
the
do
closer
know
we get.
is that the women's roster's strong.
Yeah, they got a lot of options.
A lot of options.
Even
what they're and look what they're doing now with Tegan Knox. They're putting her on every week. She's looking good. Her match with Becky Lynch was fantastic.
Mm.
There's a lot of options. You still got a ton of women you're not even really using. We haven't seen outside of like backstage. We haven't seen Cadence and what's her face, and they've been very impressive, but we haven't seen much of them. We also haven't seen much of the NXT tag team that came up.
Fire and Desire or whatever.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of them, and they're very good. So I don't know what we're waiting for to pull the trigger on these women. I mean, you got a 3-hour fucking show on Raw.
I know
you can't tell me you can't find the time to, give them a little rub, a little fucking, 5-minute match, something.
No, we need 20 minutes of Tozawa awkwardly lifting weights. I could watch that all day.
Though. That was fucking hilarious. And I love when Gable's training and he's like, give me another one. And Otis gives him the chest slap, and then he goes, "Oh, thank you," and then they keep doing it. Just everything about it is fucking great.
Give me another one.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, on that note, my friend, we are over the top of the hour.
Yeah, man, we'll pack it in. We added a couple extra minutes on there for you. We'll just add it on to the bill at the end of the month. You know how it goes. There is no bill. This is a free show. Sorry, I'm not. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. We're gonna be back every Tuesday as usual. Now, our new time as of a couple months ago, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Every Tuesday we go live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. We are live streaming on the Tag Me a Date page, my page, the YouTube. What other Facebook page? The Tag Me a Date page and the War Report group have it, and then my page and my fan page have it. All right, we've got a lot of Facebook options for you. YouTube is YouTube. You type in Tag Me a Date in the search bar. Our page will come up. Hit subscribe and then hit the bell to get notified when we go live. So then on your YouTube app, you'll actually get a push notification when we're going live. And then Twitch, same deal. You can add us on Twitch. It's not Tag Me a Date. It's twitch.tv/War Report, WARREPORT. And then Twitter and all the other social medias are Tag Me a Date, at Tag Me a Date. No spaces. It's all one word. So 90% of our social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, is Tag Me a Date with no spaces. Tag Me a Date. And then the Twitch is twitch.tv/War Report. And if you prefer, we have archives on the YouTube. You can go back on Twitch and watch some old shows as well. But if you prefer an audio version instead of the video version of the podcast, we have it available for you on Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud. I think we get a lot of listens from SoundCloud. So if you're listening on SoundCloud, say hello, comment. If you're listening on one of those audio platforms, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, please comment so we know you're there. Just let us know, because I don't know where everybody's tuning in from, but I know we get downloads. I think it's mostly from SoundCloud. So hello. And we're also on Google Play Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. You just have to look for the War Report or Tag Me a Date. It should come up. The icon will come up in the description. The graphic and the description will both say Tag Me a Date. It'll say Steve's name. It should say my name. There is another wrestling podcast called the War Report. So that's why I say just make sure you click on the right one, read the description, make sure it's us, click subscribe, and then we'll be in your inbox. So basically, once the show goes off the air, Ryan takes the audio from this video and then crops it up and puts it up on the podcast apps, and it's usually available within the hour of us going off live stream. So you can then take it and listen to it later while you're driving, if you have a long trip, if you got some laundry to do, whatever you're doing throughout your day. You can throw on a pair of headphones and give us a listen. But we'll be back with a new episode. We'll be live streaming once again on all of our platforms next Tuesday, 9 p.m. on Eastern time. I know daylight savings time is coming up. I don't know how many people that actually affects in terms of like they don't adhere to it or it's different in other countries. I don't know. If it affects you, you got to Google that shit. David, I think, is fine because he's in California. Tara, I think you're fine. Just set your clocks as normal, and we don't, we'll all survive this thing. All right, guys, that's it. We'll talk to you next week, 9 p.m. Eastern time, right back here on whatever platform you're listening to. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you later.